Good morning. Right. My name is Avinash, and I'm founder of an insurtech. My background is car insurance. And let's talk about business mindset for AI. I'm going to start with a question. So you have a team of data scientists, and you have built up a predictive model which is quite successful. How much of the project do you think is complete? Show of hands for A. B. C. And D. Yeah, interesting. I think there were more hands around C and D, and I would argue, even though the model is the backbone of the project, the answer would be around D, 20%. The reason being, the predictive model really is just at the tip of the iceberg. When you think about AI in a big organization, you have to think about other project interdependencies like availability, governance, interpretability, retraining, operationalization, and I'll touch upon a few of them now. So availability is quite an interesting one. You might sit in your silo with a big data set and make a predictive model. And then you might find variables that are predictive, but they might not be available to you at the right point in the customer journey. One example could be, let's say you find out that payment details are predictive of risk. But when you are quoting on price comparison, you don't yet have the payment details. So while the data scientist might sit down and bring a predictive model in, if they are not in touch with the product management team, the customer journey, customer centricity, all that comes in, you might miss on the availability. That's one of the random examples, but there are many when you dig into the details. Governance, we just talked about regulation. You have to be ethical, legal, but also might have to follow with the organization's procedures and processes. Interpretability is another interesting one. You need to know what the model is doing and why it is doing, and should be able to explain that. And I think that also ties back to the question earlier around regulation. As long as the customer outcomes are correct, you can interpret the model and explain it to the regulator. I think you are in a safe zone. Retraining, so the customer book might change, your data distribution might change, and you might have to decide a frequency to retrain the models, right? And how frequently do you do it? How do you monitor that? That's a challenge. And finally, the biggest block is maybe the IT implementation. You have to take that model, integrate in your IT world, and then make use of it at scale. And that takes a lot of effort. IT prioritization, buy versus build, et cetera, those things comes into picture. So from a business mindset, when you are thinking about a project on AI, you should have the buy-in in the organization, not only from the sponsors, but from different teams, because you might have the compliance team, the legal team, the IT team involved to get the project across the line. So that's number one, project management for AI. The second thing to think about, I think, is a business case. Many a times you have many opportunities within AI. We're talking about claims, pricing, fraud, and then within those two, there are many other opportunities. So do you do fraud first, or do you predict liability? And so thinking about business cases before you jump into modeling is a good one. You might argue platform even comes before that. You should have the right digital platforms, the right customer journey in place, the right agile teams, cross-functional teams in place before you think about a project. But my favorite one is the last one, which is segment. If you think about kids, how they learn, they go to different classes to learn different skills, different languages, math, science, English. And so models pretty much work like that. If you're training a model for a specific segment, then they are going to be more predictive, more interpretable, and probably more easy to explain to the regulators, easy to justify in a business case too. So for example, you might think, I can predict fault. And so you run through a big data set and you say, hey, look, my AI tells fault or non-fault. But the business case doesn't sit there. You have to then think about, okay, what happens after that prediction? Am I able to then reduce spend on, I don't know, lawyers or and on litigation. And those things come into picture. And you might see through the model, you're able to make the process better, challenge more, and make a delta of 5%. And then what does that 5% equate into? And when you think about that, the business case might not look like that interesting, even though the model might look interesting. And therefore, from a list of opportunities or use cases, it's important to build that business case. But it's not the job of the data scientist to do it. Again, it comes on working with the product managers, business managers to understand what exactly is the business case and are you set up for that. So I would say project management is one, business case is the next one. And moving on, this is the strategy that at least we are using in our startup, quite my favorite way to look at AI. If you look at what insurtechs are doing, there are two key themes here. And I want you to think about this as a flywheel, a growth flywheel, where you say we have customer centricity and profitability to drive. And if you start from the right-hand side, you have AI and you are making intelligent triage, you are saving money, you are having operational excellence. And at the same time, you are having a better risk scores, better risk book, better risks on your book. And that means you are more profitable, more money in the pot, which then allows you to pass some of that value back to customers, be cheaper to customers, acquire more customers. But when you land there, if you then use AI to get customer delight, so settle the claims quickly, offer them the right price at the right time, offer them the right products, fast quote using AI probably. And so you pass on the wins, the customers like the journey, they are happy, they stay loyal, it comes back to lifetime value, you have a bigger renewal book, and then you are even more profitable. And then this flywheel just goes on and you grow profitably. And that probably also answers, we believe that would answer some of the growth versus profitability challenge for our company as we grow. So let's just put this strategy and think about claims. So I just brought this use case up of touchless claims. You can start with identifying crash, right? You have devices in telematics, your phone devices, apps, different sensor data. And you might be able to identify crash just through driving behavior or how the device behaved when the crash happened. But coming back to the strategy, is this customer-centric? Yes. If you are able to identify crash, you can reach to the customer first rather than the customer reaching to you. But is it profitable? Yes, because you will be able to maybe catch fraud, settle claims earlier, reduce your claims cost, and get more data at the moment of truth. So both customer-centric and profitable. Damage estimation, tractable, for example. You can take pictures of the damage and they can estimate how much is the damage or if the damage is a total loss or not. And again, this is customer-friendly. You don't have to go on a call and explain the accident for 30 minutes. You just take the pictures. Again, you can reduce fraud because you can say whether the pictures are accurate or not. And then take a quick decision. Don't need a huge claims team. The AI does the job. Intelligent triage. I think fraud is a good case. Very early on at FNOL, when you have all the data coming in, you can then predict fraud and then just say, we'll settle this quickly or not. We'll spend time on it. We will investigate. We'll send it to our special team to investigate on. And then invoice check. You might get invoices from your external garages or your garage networks. And then AI can then see and say, well, whether the invoices are inflated or not inflated and whether we should spend time managing costs or just look at the naughty ones. And through, if you look at it, at every point you are accelerating the claim settlement, you are making the customer aware of what's happening, finally also being very profitable because you are able to settle claims faster, challenge fraud faster, etc. So that's what I want to talk about. Just a quick introduction about our company, Good Driver. We're trying to disrupt the product part. We are building a monthly subscription, just like your Netflix. You pay how you use and your car in the month, and your monthly bills vary. It's not pay how you drive or pay per mile. It's a combination of how you drive, pay per mile, as well as usage. Because you might use your car for different types of trips. You might park at some different places. You might drive at different roads at different times of the day, et cetera, et cetera. So usage is a bigger umbrella. It's a usage-based insurance. That's what I'm excited about. Usage-based, but monthly, taking away the annual renewal process. Very fair and customer-centric. And all of that in a super app, leveraging AI where possible. So all the things that we talked about, product innovation, touchless claims, phone telematics, driving behavior, et cetera, all wrapped up in a super app. And we are planning to build it, not buy, because I think there are many innovative parts. When you buy things, I think it becomes difficult to customize. And you end up customizing a lot, and eventually you end up building it. So yeah, that's good driver. Yeah, happy to take questions now.